What if everything you think you know about wealthy people is completely wrong? What if, the real millionaire next door drives a 3-year-old used car, shops at regular stores, and you'd never even notice them? Welcome to the deep dive.
Today we're getting into a study that really flips the script on wealth. The Millionaire Next Door. This isn't just guesswork. It's based on, over 20 years of solid research by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. They actually went out and studied thousands of real millionaires across America. Not the flashy types, but everyday people. So, our mission today: uncover some surprising truths, reveal this whole idea of invisible wealth, and show you a practical path to financial independence. We're going to look at who these millionaires really are, how they act, and what separates them from people who just look rich. Okay, let's dive in.
Yeah, what's so striking about this research is how much it challenges, the stereotypes we all have about what rich looks like. It's much less about the fancy cars and mansions we see on TV, and much more about a kind of internal discipline, a financial approach that most people just don't see. Right, and that's the perfect place to start. Because the biggest shocker from their work is exactly that. Real millionaires often don't look like millionaires. They blend in. They intentionally avoid showing off wealth. Think about it. You might have two neighbors. One's got the brand new luxury SUV, the huge house, always posting vacation pics. The other drives an older sedan, lives in a nice but, normal house in an average neighborhood, maybe shops at the same grocery store. Who's the millionaire? Statistically, the study says it's often the second one. Is that right? It just feels backwards to how we usually think.
It absolutely feels backwards, but the data backs it up. And it perfectly illustrates what the authors call the big hat, no cattle syndrome. These are the people who look loaded, the luxury cars, designer clothes, big houses. But often they're swimming in debt to maintain that image, living paycheck to paycheck, sometimes even with a negative net worth when you factor it all in. It's an incredibly expensive performance, basically. And that performance eats up the very resources they'd need to actually build wealth.
Okay, so big hat, no cattle is all show, no substance. What about the real millionaires then? How do they resist that pressure to look rich?
That's their secret weapon: stealth wealth.
It's a conscious choice. They've decided that being financially secure, having independence, is way more important than getting nods of approval from strangers. They understand the fundamental difference between being rich and just looking rich, and they choose security every time. The satisfaction for them comes from watching their net worth climb, not from showing off a new purchase.
At this point, I think this is really crucial for everyone listening. It completely redefines what wealth is. It's not the flash, is it?
Not at all. It's really about what you keep. The big lesson here is that wealth is defined by what you accumulate and hold on to, not what you spend. That super flashy lifestyle. Often it signals the exact opposite of real sustainable wealth. It's a critical distinction. Okay, so true wealth is often hidden, but how do we measure it then? How can you tell if you're actually on the right path or just looking the part?
Well, the researchers came up with a surprisingly simple but really insightful tool for that. They call it the wealth equation. It's a quick check. Expected net worth equals your age multiplied by your annual pre-tax income divided by 10.
Age times income divided by 10. Okay, simple enough. And this lets them group people.
Exactly. It gives you a benchmark. So first you have the PAWs, that's prodigious accumulators of wealth. These are the folks really crushing it. Their net worth is at least double what the formula predicts. True wealth builders.
Pause. Got it. The superstars.
Then you have AAW's average accumulators of wealth. Their net worth is pretty much in line with the formula. Doing okay.
Makes sense.
And finally, the UAW's under accumulators of wealth. Their net worth is half or even less than what you'd expect based on their age and income.
Let's make that concrete. Say someone is 40 years old, earns $100,000 a year, age times income, $4 million, divided by 10.
Yeah.
Expected net worth is $400,000.
Exactly. So a PAW in that scenario would have $800,000 or more saved up. An AAW would be around that $400,000 mark. But a UAW, they'd have $200,000 or less, despite that six-figure income.
Wow. And what's really surprising is who falls into these categories, right? It's not always who you'd think.
Not at all. That's one of the most counterintuitive findings. You get a lot of high-income earners, doctors, lawyers, executives who are actually UAWs. They make great money, but they spend it just as fast, often faster, chasing that high-status lifestyle. The income goes right back out the door.
So they never actually accumulate much.
Right. And conversely, you find many PAWs among people with more modest incomes: teachers, engineers, small business owners. Why? Because they consistently save and invest a good portion of what they earn year after year. Discipline trumps income level.
So a high income can almost be a trap sometimes if you're not careful.
It absolutely can be, because high income often leads to high consumption. It's that lifestyle inflation trap. You feel you deserve the bigger house, the fancier car, and before you know it, you're still living paycheck to paycheck, just at a higher level, the UAW zone. Meanwhile, someone earning less, but saving 15–20% consistently, can quietly build serious wealth.
Which really drives home the point. Income is just the starting line. What you do with it, that's the game changer. That's what determines if you build wealth.
Exactly. Are you converting that income into assets, or is it just flowing out as expenses? That's the key question, way more important than the salary number itself.
And the people who are successfully converting income into wealth, the pause, they tend to share some common traits, don't they?
Yes, the study identified 7 key characteristics, and these aren't about, complex Wall Street strategies. They're behaviors, habits.
Okay, trait number 1. This seems like the absolute foundation. They live below their means, consistently spending less than they earn, often significantly less. But it's more than just being tight, right? There's a mindset there.
Oh, definitely. It's not about deprivation for its own sake. It's about economic discipline, as they call it. It's about delaying gratification, finding genuine satisfaction not in the purchase itself, but in seeing their net worth grow, their financial security solidify. They've kind of rewired their brains to value the long-term gain over the short-term splurge. Think about this. The average millionaire in the study spent only about 7% of their total wealth annually on everything.
7%. So if you're worth $1 million, you're living on $70,000 a year total. That's disciplined.
Very. It builds in a huge margin of safety and allows for significant reinvestment.
That intentionality leads right into trait number 2. They allocate time and money efficiently for building wealth. They're active participants.
Absolutely. This isn't passive saving, they're hands-on. The average millionaire spent about 8.4 hours per month planning their finances, researching investments, tracking progress.
8 hours a month just on managing money.
Yeah, they understand opportunity cost deeply. Every dollar spent on, say, a fancy dinner is a dollar that's not working for them, not compounding. They make those trade-offs consciously. It's a priority.
Makes sense. Trait number 3 feels like the core driver behind all this. They believe financial independence is more important than social status.
Exactly. This is the fundamental mindset shift. Freedom, options, security, those are the real goals, not impressing the neighbors. They see status symbols as obstacles to freedom, not achievements. Whereas UAWs often do the opposite. They sacrifice future freedom for the immediate image.
Right, getting trapped in that keeping up game.
Which keeps them from ever achieving real independence.
Okay, this next one, trait 4, really surprised me. Their parents didn't provide economic outpatient care. You'd think wealthy people came from wealthy parents who helped them out.
That's the common assumption, but the data says otherwise for most first-generation millionaires. Significant ongoing financial help from parents as an adult. It often backfires. The research suggests it tends to foster dependency. It prevents the adult children from developing their own financial discipline, their own problem-solving skills when it comes to money. They don't learn to stand on their own financial feet.
So, tough love in a way.
Or maybe just letting them figure it out themselves, which builds crucial skills.
And that flows into trait 5. Their adult children are economically self-sufficient. They pass on the right lessons.
Precisely. Millionaires tend to raise kids who understand financial responsibility. They lead by example. The goal isn't to create dependency with handouts, but to instill the discipline and work ethic needed for the kids to build their own wealth. It's about character building.
Got it. Trait number 6. They are proficient in targeting market opportunities, so they're savvy investors.
They are, but maybe not in the way you think. It's not about day trading or chasing hot tips. It's more about identifying solid, often undervalued opportunities, maybe in real estate, their own business niche, or even just consistent stock market investing. They do their homework, they think long-term. Often they're contrarian buying when others are panicking, being cautious when everyone else is euphoric. Strategic thinking.
Makes sense. And finally, trait 7. They choose the right occupation. We touched on this, but it seems important.
Very important. A lot of them are self-employed or own businesses. Why? Because that offers more control and, crucially, the potential for equity growth, which is hard to get just from a salary. Even if they work for others, they tend to choose careers with good long-term wealth potential, not just focusing on prestige or the starting salary. They think strategically about their career path, too.
So these 7 traits, they paint a picture of discipline, long-term thinking, and valuing independence over appearances. Not secrets, just consistent behavior.
Exactly. It's the consistency that builds the wealth.
Now, something we really need to clear up is this idea of being frugal versus being cheap. People hear lives below their means and think millionaires are just stingy.
Right, and that's a huge misconception. There's a critical difference. Being frugal in the millionaire next door sense means being a strategic spender. You prioritize value, utility, long-term benefit. You spend where it matters. Being cheap is just avoiding spending, almost regardless of value or consequence. It's reactive, not strategic.
So what do frugal millionaires spend money on? Where do they see value?
Quality is a big one. They'll often spend more on something that's well-made and will last because the cost per use is lower in the long run. Think tools, maybe certain clothing items. They obviously spend on investments, things that have the potential to grow their money or generate income. Businesses, stocks, real estate, and importantly, they invest in themselves. Education, skills training, things that enhance their ability to earn or manage their wealth better. They also buy tools that improve their efficiency.
Okay, that makes sense. Investments, not just expenses. What do they actively avoid spending on then?
Mostly things that are purely about status but lack real utility or lasting value. Flashy cars that depreciate instantly, designer labels just for the name, keeping up with trends just because. Impulse purchases are rare. They think before they buy, especially big-ticket items. They're not easily swayed by marketing or social pressure.
So the example might be driving a 10-year-old reliable Toyota. Perfectly fine. But then maybe investing $50,000 to start a side business or get an advanced degree.
Exactly. That captures the mindset perfectly. One is minimizing a depreciating expense. The other is investing in a potentially appreciating asset or income stream. They understand the difference.
Which brings up a great question for you, the listener, to ask yourself before a big purchase. Is this helping me build wealth, or is it preventing me from building wealth? Just asking that honestly can change things.
It's a powerful filter.
Beyond the specific actions, though, there seems to be a whole different way these millionaires think about money. A mindset.
Absolutely. The behaviors stem from this deeper mindset. It's like their financial operating system is different.
What's one of the biggest differences in that thinking?
I'd say the time horizon is huge. They're constantly thinking long-term, 10, 20, 30 years out. What are the consequences of this spending decision decades from now? Under accumulators, UAWs, tend to be much more focused on the immediate gratification, this week, this month. That difference in perspective changes everything.
So every dollar spent isn't just gone, it's a dollar that could have been growing for decades.
Precisely. That leads to the investment versus consumption mindset. Almost every outflow is mentally categorized. Is this an investment with potential return, even non-financial return like knowledge? Or is it just consumption that disappears?
And it's interesting because even though they're frugal, you mentioned they don't necessarily have a scarcity mindset.
Right, it's paradoxical. Many operate with an abundance mindset when it comes to creating wealth. They believe opportunities exist, they focus on growing their income, starting ventures. UAWs sometimes get stuck only on cutting expenses, which is important, but limiting if it's the sole focus. Millionaires play both offense, growing income, and defense, controlling spending.
They also see wealth building as a process, not an event,
Yeah.
right? No get-rich-quick thinking.
Definitely. It's about the slow, steady application of habits and systems over time. Boring, but effective. Not waiting for a lottery win or stock market miracle.
And how they use their free time often reflects this. Education versus entertainment.
Yeah, there's a tendency for millionaires to use discretionary time for learning, reading industry journals, improving skills, things that build their human capital, less passive consumption, more active self-improvement.
And finally, how they handle setbacks. Responsibility versus blame.
Crucial. When things go wrong financially, they tend to own it. What did I miss? What can I do differently? They analyze and adapt. Under accumulators might be more prone to blaming external factors, the economy, bad luck, unfair bosses, which prevents learning and growth.
Taking responsibility gives you power.
Exactly. This whole mindset package, adopting it is arguably the most critical step for long-term success. The behaviors follow the thinking.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, there was another really interesting finding about where people live, the neighborhood effect. Can living in a fancy area actually make it harder to get rich?
Counterintuitive, right? But yes, the research strongly suggests it can, even for people earning high incomes. They called it the neighborhood arms race. In affluent areas, there's often intense, sometimes unspoken pressure to keep up appearances. Your neighbor gets a new BMW, suddenly your older Lexus feels inadequate. They redo their kitchen, yours starts looking dated. It's a constant cycle of status-driven spending.
A consumption treadmill, basically.
Exactly, and it drains resources that could be going towards investments. You end up spending a huge chunk of your income just maintaining the appearance of wealth required by the neighborhood.
So what do the actual millionaires do?
Often, they choose not to live in those ultra-affluent areas. They opt for solid middle-class or upper-middle-class neighborhoods where their more modest cars and homes don't stand out. Living where frugality is more the norm removes that social pressure. It makes it easier to stick to their plan and quietly accumulate assets without judgment or the need to keep up.
So another question for you listening. Take an honest look at your environment. Is your neighborhood, your social circle, subtly pushing you towards spending or supporting your efforts to save and invest? It's a powerful, often invisible influence.
It really is worth considering.
All right, let's tackle some common and frankly damaging myths about wealth that hold people back. These myths give us easy excuses, but the truth from this study is way more encouraging. Let's bust myth number 1. You need a huge income to become a millionaire.
Totally false. As we saw, many millionaires are middle-income earners. It's the savings rate and consistency that matter far more than the absolute income level.
Okay. Myth number 2. Rich people just inherit all their money.
Nope. The data clearly shows about 80% of millionaires in America are first-generation wealthy. They earned it themselves, didn't inherit it.
Myth number 3. You have to take massive risks to get rich. Hit the jackpot on some stock.
Also generally untrue for the typical millionaire. Most built wealth through steady, diversified, relatively boring investing over long periods. Think index funds, real estate, their own business. Not wild speculation.
Slow and steady wins the wealth race.
Pretty much.
How about myth number 4? Wealthy people are just lucky. Right place, right time.
Luck plays a role in everything, sure, but they overwhelmingly create their own luck. Through discipline, continuous learning, preparation, and making prudent decisions consistently over decades, they position themselves for opportunities to pay off.
And finally, myth number 5. You need secret knowledge or special connections, an inside track.
Again, no. The core principles: live below your means, save consistently, invest wisely, think long-term, are simple, well-known, and accessible to literally anyone willing to apply them. No secret handshake required.
These myths are dangerous because they let us off the hook, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do it because I didn't inherit money, don't earn enough, not lucky.
Exactly. They foster passivity. The truth is, the path is there for almost anyone willing to walk it with discipline.
So let's wrap this up by making it actionable. What can you, our listener, take away and start doing today? Here's your Millionaire Next Door challenge. First, maybe grab a calculator. Figure out your expected net worth. Age times annual income divided by 10. Where do you stand? PAW. AEW, UAW. Just knowing is powerful.
Awareness is step 1.
Second, look at your recent spending. Maybe the last month. How much went to status items versus things that genuinely build long-term value or wealth? Be honest with yourself.
That can be eye-opening.
Third, pick one millionaire trait we talked about. Just one. Focus on implementing it this month. Maybe track your spending meticulously, or dedicate 2 hours to financial planning, or consciously delay one gratification purchase.
Small, consistent steps.
Fourth, evaluate your environment, your neighborhood, your friends. Are they supporting your financial goals, or are they subtly creating pressure to spend? What can you do to buffer yourself if needed?
Control your inputs.
Fifth, actively practice shifting your mindset. Before you buy something non-essential, pause. Ask. Investment or consumption? Building wealth or preventing it? Make it a habit.
And finally, start tracking your net worth. Maybe just once a month. What gets measured gets managed. Seeing that number move, hopefully up, is incredibly motivating.
Absolutely. The big takeaway from the Millionaire Next Door is this. Real wealth isn't usually loud or flashy. It's quiet, it's invisible, it's built brick by brick through consistent, disciplined choices, living below your means and investing patiently over time. And it's genuinely within reach for many people. So picture that millionaire again. Not the one on Instagram, but the one maybe down the street. Driving the reliable older car, living in a modest home, quietly building serious assets, while others are busy trying to look rich. They are among us, often unnoticed.
Masters of stealth wealth.
Exactly. So here's a final thought to chew on. For the next 30 days, just try it. Try living like that millionaire next door. Take the money you might have spent on status, on impressing others, and consciously save or invest it instead. What could that simple shift mean for your financial future, even in just 1 month? Remember the core message: real wealth whispers, fake wealth shouts.